Crank up the volume and get ready for real-world bird hunting by listening to the Wingmen podcast by Eastman's. Now your host, Todd Helms.
Hey guys, Todd Helms with another episode of the Wingmen podcast. Coming at you live and in person out here in Enid, Oklahoma. We're fresh off a crane hunt this morning with the outfit down here in Enid, Oklahoma. And I am joined today by Gage Biggers. Gage is our guide this morning, and you help run this show.
Yep, for the most part.
Yeah?
Try to. Anyway, we all do our best, play our own part, but everybody has plays their own role here. So.
Yeah, how many of you guys are on staff?
There's 4 people full time.
Four people.
That's it.
4 people.
That's all of us.
And Shane's the owner.
Shane's the owner, correct.
Okay, cool. So, this morning, walk us through it.
Man.
I thought it was a good shoot.
Yeah, it was. It was a good shoot for a 2-mile-an-hour wind with the biggest species of migratory game bird that you can hunt.
Right.
You know, on top of that, we had the sun on our face. We didn't have the most ideal hide at all. I mean, that was an okay hide, but
I liked what you did with the hide this morning. When we pulled up and we're looking at this Milo field I'm assuming that was in a no-till cornfield, is what that was.
Yep, Milo, no-till Milo.
Yep, no-till Milo. So we had these stalks to hide in, and there was nothing else.
Yep.
It wasn't brush, there wasn't understory to it, and it was right next to a winter wheat field, which is that tall, that long.
Right.
You're not hiding in that stuff. Mm-hmm. And you used the topography, you used a little dip in the landscape to help hide us.
Yeah, sometimes those old school farmers help you a little bit, but they don't like standing water in their field. So that's a man-made drainage ditch there. Mm-hmm. That was sat in, and that could have been made in the 80s, could have been made in the 60s.
Right.
But that was a definitely man-made ditch on the north side of that field. You used to hold water, and it still holds a little bit of water there. And the farmer whenever dug that out and drained it all to the ditch in the road. So that if that farmer didn't like water standing in his field, we wouldn't have had that ditch.
That makes sense. That makes sense, because it was exactly what we needed, and honestly, I think it was probably the only reason we got any birds in the decoys at all.
Absolutely.
Because like you said, we had no wind. Mm-hmm. And those birds, man, you could see them come up off the river and they would glide forever. And I'm thinking, okay, this is gonna work. And they get about 300 yards out and start to flap their wings, and I'm like, okay, maybe not. I've never hunted cranes before until today.
When you think they're coming, you wait 10 minutes, you look up, and they're still coming.
Yeah.
That's how they are. They're just slow flying birds. They've got a lot to work with, especially with no wind, and you know they've got to do all the work themselves.
Right.
That way they have no factors to play with, so you gotta mess with what you got. Like you said, with that ravine that we had, it was the only thing we had to really work with in that field. And those birds were hopping from wheat to Milo, and that field is 160 acres with cut straight down the middle, Milo and wheat. Mm-hmm. So that's what we just redid what the birds were doing the day before, and those tall Milo stalks helped us a little bit there because my main goal, like you said on the hunt, the birds that were high were coming. But the birds that were low, we at least had a chance to work with, and that's what I was banking on was low birds hopping over from the river to us real low, and that Milo stubble, that tall Milo stubble, just blocks out what they could see with us being in that low spot.
Right.
So,
and we weren't in the decoys. We were sitting to the west of the decoys, trying to get those birds, keep their attention on the decoys and off of us. So they're not looking at the best hide we can put together.
Right.
But that was my first crane hunt. I've never done that before. I had no idea what to expect. Well, of course, you see, if you go on social media or YouTube and you type in crane hunts, all you see are rainouts. You know, where guys there's 15 dudes in A-frames and they're just raining birds out of the sky, and it's like, oh my gosh. Yeah. But we're a handful of days away from the end of the season here.
Yeah, this is the latest anybody's hunting cranes around here.
Right.
I mean, it's unheard of really to hunt cranes even after January 5th, January 1st here. Like If you've got a good feed, you can hunt the cranes, but it's not like day in and day out hunting cranes in January. And that's what we're doing right now. You know, I was, I don't know, the third crane hunt the last week, which is crazy to me.
I can't imagine that because those birds were tough this morning. Yeah, granted, you get some weather, get some wind, you probably kill a few more birds, but we ended up killing 6.
Quiet.
We ended up killing 6 birds.
Okay.
And I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, it was constant action all day, and we were just, like I said, working with what we had to play with. There just wasn't a whole lot of key factors we could pull in, and I tried to pull every trick out of my sleeve on them. Like you said, the majority of our decoy spread was to the right of us.
Right.
40 yards. Our furthest decoy was 60 yards, 70 yards away from us.
And we kind of did that thinking if we did get a wind, it was supposed to be out of the south.
Yep.
And so they were gonna cross right in front of us, hopefully, and there just wasn't enough wind to make it do anything. But we had birds centered up. Mm-hmm. One volley was centered right up. There were some birds that landed on the first couple birds we got killed were on the right side. Everybody got a bird.
Yep.
Everybody got to take a bird home. So that was cool. I enjoyed it. I grew up watching those things, not being able to hunt them.
Yeah.
And hunting early Canadas in September, and you're in an oat stubble field, and you're covered in cranes.
Yeah.
Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of cranes. And fields that look like that one that we looked at after we got done hunting today. Mm-hmm. Just loaded with cranes, and you couldn't hunt them.
Yep.
And it was like, man, someday I want to hunt these things. And then in Wyoming, we can hunt them, but you can shoot one. It's a draw, you get a tag, you can shoot one like a turkey. And it's kind of like, okay.
That's crazy.
I want to go someplace that I can put decoys out and I can have a hunt. So this morning was, I don't know, man, that was a big check mark for me. That was super cool.
That wasn't a, very traditional way to hunt them. That's, that's not how we usually hunt them, but Shay and I were talking about it the other day, the decoying ratio from birds you've seen to birds you decoy. Like today, the birds weren't flaring. They weren't side sweeping us around. They were just flying directly over us and keep on going. And that's late season cranes. I don't know if they know the gig's up. They know what a decoy looks like. But that's just late season cranes because you go from November, it's like a 2/3 decoying rate. You can be done in an hour. I've had hunts where it's done in 20 minutes with 11 guys.
Wow.
And that's early November. Well, you get down to mid-December, and it was like a third. Some hunts, best hunts were a half decoy ratio for, if you have 8 birds come in one volley, they don't like it, the next ones just come right in like it's nothing. And so now it's like to a tenth, of what we saw today. And it's been consistent. It's consistently going down.
Getting worse.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Which makes sense. That's what you would expect in any late season scenario. You get in late season honkers. I was telling you this morning, it reminded me a lot of hunting late season giant Canadas in the Midwest, in Michigan. Mm-hmm. Those birds, they're super familiar with the area. They're old. They've seen it all, and they just don't decoy.
Yeah.
I've seen them literally not even land next to each other in the field. They'll go land 200 yards away and then walk together, and you see that all the time.
Yeah. That's what makes it worse about cranes is, we were talking about that earlier today, is there's just not a lot of them like there is geese or ducks or anything else. And at that point too, they also don't hatch as many eggs as a goose or duck. As a crane only hatches 2 eggs.
2 eggs.
If they're lucky. So their reproduction rate's a lot slower. Their hatch rate's a lot smaller. You're hunting a lot of the same birds that have been hunted over and over and over again, and that's why they're still here, is because they're so small. We would have wiped cranes out a long time ago, just like the whooping cranes, if they weren't as smart as they are. And so that's just part of it. And they're a hard bird to hunt.
Well, we got crane breasts sitting over there in bowl ice water right now, getting cooled off. We're going to cook them here in a little bit, and I'm pretty stoked about that. I've never eaten it. I've heard awesome things about it, so I'm excited to fire up a hot pan and sear some crane breast up. But how completely go off tack here. You're 22 years old, just pretty much fresh out of college.
Yep.
And you told me that you were in sales before this, and you said, you know what, you're doing both. You're guiding and in sales. And you said, you know what, I'm just going to guide. That's what I want to do. How did you get started in this? I mean, I'm assuming you've been a hunter for probably since you could walk.
Yeah. I've been hunting for my whole life. And funny story, I owned my first decoy trailer 2 years before I had my driver's license.
Nice.
And my dad's never shot a duck or goose in his life. So my dad spent a lot of his time driving me around, dropping off the trailer, unload the decoys, or coming with the decoys in the bed of a pickup, dropping me off. I'll call him at noon or pick me up before lunch. Whether I'm having a bad time, if I'm freezing cold, or anything, he'd pick me up around lunch, noon, something like that.
So for a guy that never did it, how did you get hooked on it?
Man, I don't know. I just I went on one hunt. I remember the hunt, and it was one of those where Dad dropped me off, and I think we shot, me and my buddy, it was two of us, we shot 16 geese on a pond. And that was, ever since that day, I was hooked, because it was one of those things where you could have, we probably had 8 shells out. Those geese weren't coming to our decoys, but in my mind they were.
Right.
They were just coming to that pond.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest with you, I didn't even know what was going to happen on that pond. I was just setting up on the pond just to hunt, because I didn't know how to do it. And we were sitting in the trees just hanging out. All of a sudden, 300, 400, 500 geese are landing on me. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to call a shot on that many or anything like that. And ever since that day, I've just been birds on my mind ever since. I just, appreciate any bird more than anything else. I did grow up quail and pheasant hunting quite a bit.
Sure.
And I like it a lot. But the upland birds, I appreciate them more just surviving than anything else, especially quail in these parts, because when I first started quail hunting, you could flush 10, 12 coveys a day, and now if you flush 2, 3, you're having an average day.
Sure.
And a stellar day, you can flush 19, 20 coveys. Now it's just piss poor, and the birds are still here. This year it's a little different than most with, the weather, but I like to watch the quail and pheasant grow, and turkey hunt in the spring quite a bit.
You guys have some phenomenal turkey hunting, you were saying.
Yep. Yeah, we all Rios, and we do pretty darn good, especially for just a few of us taking out 40 people here.
Sure.
It's we hunt every single day of the season.
That's awesome.
So just like waterfowl season.
So when do you sleep?
I'll nap after a fishing trip in July.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Now you're young, man. 22 years old. You don't need to sleep. You got that. You got this covered. But so you started out, got out of college, and just decided, I want to guide, and got a hold of. I'm assuming you knew Shane.
Yeah, I knew Shane. Yeah, I've been with Shane since the start of this. So I guided my first turkey hunt without the clients knowing after my senior prom.
Nice.
Got 2 turkeys up there. That was my first time ever guiding somebody, getting paid to hunt or getting paid to take people hunting. And ever since then, I've been doing it. And full seasons too. So turkey season that senior year of high school, I was taking people out. They didn't know how old I was, and never had a complaint. That there are some times where my immaturity showed.
Sure.
But now I'm aware of where I was wrong at those 4 or 5 years ago, and now I kind of know how to play the game. This is what I've been doing. This is all I want to do. So
that's cool.
It has its times with frustrations, and you butt heads with somebody else, and that's any job, any business.
That is the truth. I don't care what you do for a living. People listening to this are going to be like, yeah, but how hard is it to, take people hunting, yada, 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 yada. Well, we can get into that, the schedule, first of all. But you talk about button heads. You're 22 years old. I would imagine you probably get clients, especially when the shooting's not hot, that are question your lack of experience. Absolutely. Because you're young.
Absolutely. Oh yeah, I don't get that too often, and I've got it before where mid hunt somebody's, how old are you? And it's just like, oh, I tell them, and they're like, oh, okay, well, we want to hunt a shade or something like that. Like, well, I'll get that right after, no matter whether the hunt's good, the hunt's bad.
That's gotta just chafe, man.
It does. It does. So a lot of times I ignore that question.
Yeah.
A lot of times I just I'm old enough, or whatever. I just don't answer it just because the minute I answer that, either say my tips are, you can kiss those goodbye. People think, well, he's only 22, he doesn't need that much money, or something like that. But I'm still chasing a dream.
I was gonna say, you're doing a job.
It'll blow your mind what people do, and I've experienced, almost every day, been able to be with somebody on the best time of their life.
Sure.
And, that to me means more than anything.
And I would bet that the majority of those folks are appreciative.
Yep.
We're talking about instances that are probably pretty rare.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like 2 to 3 times a year.
Yeah.
Somebody that's hard-headed and might show up and, they've got different expectations of what it is. They might think it should be, I lay the duck in front of them type deals. Where, you got to pull the trigger and shoot the duck at the end of the day, and you have to shoot when I tell you to. Mm-hmm. And that's the hardest point to get across with some people is everybody's got their own different style of hunting and their different thought process on hunting. The way I like to hunt and the way I think a good hunt should go and will be, doesn't matter on how many birds we kill, but a good hunt. And sometimes my best hunts have been 12 birds or 6 birds. We shot 6 birds this morning, had a blast.
We did.
And that goes down to the people you're hunting with, and their attitudes towards all of it.
Those guys were great this morning.
Absolutely.
That was the deal with them was they were headed, spent a couple days with another outfitter, a different outfitter, and had struggled. Mm-hmm. And he, from what I could gather, listening to them talk, they were pretty frustrated. And it sounded like he didn't necessarily put forth a lot of effort.
Yeah.
And so they started looking around and got a hold of the outfit. And they were with us this morning. They were super appreciative that I'm thinking, dude, I'm just here tagging along. You guys are the ones that are paying for this, to be here, and you're clients. I'm just like kind of a fly on the wall here.
Yeah, they're good people, and you got to treat your clients right. And I get things have been tough. I've had tough times. Earlier in the season, it was guiding duck hunts 84 degrees, 85 degrees, and we don't have a lot to work with.
Right.
It's that, and then the next night it's 10 degrees. How are you supposed to pattern a bird? Well, if things get tough and you can only say so much without trying to look like you're covering something up, even though all in my head, the same thing's going over and over and over. We have bad weather, bad wind. It's just cloudy every day and 84 degrees. It's just the worst hunting ever. And it's tough. And sometimes you go through those days where you only kill a couple of birds.
Mm-hmm.
But you gotta have a good attitude behind it. You can't give them something else to complain about.
Right.
Like waiting on your clients to get there to start setting up. That shows you're banking on them to help you. Little things like that where you can't have expectations with your clients, higher expectations. You got to set the bar low and hope for the best.
Kind of take what comes.
Yep.
Roll with it.
Yeah.
We were talking about this before kind of had some great truck conversations, and you were saying I get asked a lot by younger people in various platforms, man, I want to be a guide, but I don't have any idea how to get started in it. Well, here's Gage, he's 22 years old, and you figured it out. What would you tell somebody, a kid coming out of high school or coming out of college, that wants to get into this?
Yeah. The first thing you really got to work on is your appearance and knowing yourself. Most of your clients are going to be older people.
Right.
They're going to be 60, 70, 80. The vast majority of my clients anyway are a lot older than I am.
They're the ones that can afford.
They've got grandkids as old as me.
There you go.
And and that's where you've got to be able to cater to those guys, and you've got to be able to connect with anybody, anytime. It doesn't matter if they're author of a Christian book or they're millionaires that work for own a business, big business. Like you got to be able to narrow down on your routes and be able to have niche conversations with people that show your intelligence and your character. You can't have people. You have to be able to hold a conversation. That's the first and foremost of people. And if you're going to go talk to somebody and ask for a job, you've got to be able to ask for that the right way. You can't go in there and send pictures of 100 geese laying down. This is my hunt. Yeah, that raises eyebrows when you're shooting at the geese. But also, I've taken buddies on hunts where we shot 100 geese and they showed up to hunt. I don't know who's got what or doing anything. So killing birds is really like third on the list of being able to be a guide. You just got to be trainable. And if you're not trainable, you're hard-headed. And you've got to be able to listen to, people maybe even younger than you, or because age really doesn't matter as long as experience shows. And you've got to be able to learn on your own. That's another big one that's been hard is just common sense. You got to be able to know how to open a gate. We've had people shutting gates behind their own trucks and have to get out and redo it. And just little things like that where you have to have common sense to not show your ignorance, or just something that if I've done it 50 times in front of you and then you show up and you ask me to do it again because you can't do it, then,
you're not paying attention.
You're not paying attention. You got to be able to be observant and learn on your own, because if you're not observant on the little things that we're doing, how are you going to be observant when we're hunting? Changing decoy spreads, setting spreads, brushing blinds, etc. The list goes on of everything that you have to be able to pay attention to.
That's a really good point. The little things equate to the big things.
Yep.
There's a lot of big things are just made up of a lot of little things. And if you, I like that. I like that. That's solid advice. We just got joined by another guy here at the outfit, Dillon. Dillon, introduce yourself, man.
Dillon Potson, from Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Up here, kicking it full time with Gage and Shane. Been helping out for about the last 5 years, kind of part time on weekends and stuff, and it kind of just got to the point where I can justify doing it full time. So
cool.
Been up here since November 4th.
Dude,
Yeah.
grinding.
Oh yeah.
Good for you. How did you get? We know the backstory on this guy, on this cat. What's your backstory? How did you get into this?
How to get into hunting period, or how to?
What's your hunting story, and then how did that transition into what you're doing now?
Right. So didn't kill my first duck until I was 17 years old. Didn't grow up in a hunting family. It's something I kind of discovered on my own, and just sort of fell in love with it and decided it was what I wanted to do. When I was in college, I got a job at Cabela's and kind of worked my way up there, and just always knew I wanted to be in the outdoor industry.
Sure.
So went in on the retail side. That's how I got hooked up with Shane through a mutual friend at Cabela's, and been up here running and gunning with him, and he invited me to come along full time this year. Here I am.
Cool. Did you scout this morning?
Yes, sir. Well, I hunted this morning.
You hunted this morning.
Yeah.
So you had clients this morning.
Yeah.
How'd you guys do?
We did all right. Birds were acting weird. It's real cold, no wind, and bluebird skies. So the big groups didn't want to do it.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, but but we were getting 10 to 30 in the spread and laying into them pretty good.
And you were hunting geese.
Yeah, little geese.
Little geese. I think we're doing that tomorrow. I think that's the program for tomorrow, and I'm stoked because we kind of been chatting and visiting. We can shoot. We don't get a lot of little geese. It's mostly big geese, and so little geese do it different. They do it different, and I'm super excited to like just tear into them because that's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, you don't pick out one bird you shoot at.
Yeah.
You shoot into the biggest wad.
Mm-hmm. Shoot at the wall.
That's what we tell all the clients is when we have a big spin of little geese, say there's 1,000 geese, working all their way down. It's a tier step. Going down like a tornado is what it looks like if you're looking at it from the road. And once they get there, we'll wait till there's not just one wall of birds, but on that spin, there's one that joins into two in the back. And you can lay into all of them at once.
Right.
So there's virtually no way to miss, is the idea behind it. Sometimes you've got groups that if you've got the wind straight at your back or straight from the side, you're not going to hit them with a swing like that.
Sure.
You're just going to have a big rain out on them sometimes. But
Same thing when you're landing birds too. When you're landing birds in the spread, you call it the first two guys that jump up and shoot. They're gonna shoot the ones in the air wall. The 30, 40 birds that are in the deeks are gonna jump up, and you just send it to the plug right at the wall of geese, and it ends up in some pretty good rainouts. We tell people all the time, whenever you've got a wall in front of you, just empty your gun all 3 times. Don't worry about picking a bird.
Don't worry about hitting the dang decoys either.
Just shoot your gun. Shoot your gun. The only thing you have to worry about is a dog. Don't shoot a dog.
Yeah. Make sure there's air under what you're shooting at. Oh. Speaking of dogs, who was that?
That's Finn. He's my pup, 12 weeks old. We picked him up the day after Christmas from Jared Dowell in Manhattan, Kansas. So if you're looking for a reputable breeder, he's your guy.
That's super cool. And you have an SOK North dog.
Yes, I do. Yeah. And he's out of Bruno and Pet.
Okay.
That's his parents. So he's a lot like his dad. I got to run his dad when I was in Mississippi in March.
Okay.
They're almost identical dogs.
Are they?
Yeah.
It's funny you say that because I've got Hondo, who is a cedar and Fiat, and he looks exactly like cedar.
Yeah.
He's like a thinner version because he's young right now, but he looks just like him.
That's how Enzo was when I picked him up. He looked exactly like his dad, just 10 pounds lighter. His neck wouldn't fill that out yet, and now that he's 2, him and his dad are almost identical dogs. If you're looking at it front on,
I could tell last night when I walked around. You told me he was an SOK North dog, and now that you told me he's a Bruno pup, I'm like, yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
But so Finn, like as in fishing or?
No, Huckleberry Finn.
Huckleberry Finn.
Where his name comes from. Yeah. So his dad is Rock Chalk Jayhawk. His name's Rock. He gets run by Justin Jackson out of Texoma Retrievers in Kingston, Oklahoma, and got a stack of pedigree. So I've got big hopes for the little guy. So
cool.
He's getting to do all sorts of puppy stuff. He's getting socialized, getting to chew on goose heads in the pile, and he goes out on setups and pickups and
cool.
Gets to chase wings and do all kinds of fun puppy stuff. So
that's awesome, and I think that's huge too. And it's funny how fast conversation goes to dogs, especially when they're around. But
they're such an integral part of the program.
They are. They are. And last night we're sitting around here having dinner, and there's $7 running around, $8 running around, and I'm just like, I wasn't even talking to people. I just wanted to be with the dogs. They're a huge part of it. But so back into before you jumped in, one of the questions that we were talking about was I get asked all the time, how do you get into guiding? I'm a young guy. How do you get into it? And we talked about being presentable, having work ethic, being willing to learn.
Right.
What's your take?
You know, the word you use is presentable, and that's I think that's the most important thing. Obviously, you know, you've got to be able to present yourself well to clients, and you know, read the room. You know, don't try and leave, you know, politics out of it and stuff like that. You know, just you know, it's all about the birds. It's about having a good time. It's about getting together and the camaraderie and all that. So just, you know, don't be a jackal, basically.
Don't be a jackal.
Times get tough, and you can kind of see a guy, you know, when they show up. If things aren't going how they're supposed to be going, or times get tough on birds or something like that, you'll see somebody's true character.
Sure.
You know? And if you get mad, it's normal. You know, if you get frustrated, that's normal. Sometimes you might, you know, spout something off you shouldn't have, and you come back and say sorry later.
Yeah.
You know, that's part of it. That happens anywhere you go. But if you go around the corner and you're telling a buddy something that, you know, you shouldn't be saying, or you're the best at what you do, it's you know, that's all wrong. You just that's when you can see somebody's true colors.
Sure.
Is when times get tough, and you know, for anybody on frustrations, it's, you know, you'll see somebody's true color, but that still can be a good thing. You can see how somebody handles a situation, and you don't know that until you're there.
Yeah.
You know, we've lost guys, a lot of guys from that. Not really a lot, but 2 or 3, which is a lot for us.
Right.
Because, you know, everybody's a key player here. We don't have a lot of people to play in and out. You know, if you're here, you have to be here. You can't be going for a week at a time doing ski trip. You can't.
Right.
You got to be able to sacrifice all that stuff. And we just lost guys that just couldn't make it on the time when things were tough. When things were great, you know, they were able to post something on Instagram and be able to keep chugging along. But when times got tough and clients come to you saying, well, so-and-so said this about you, or, you know, whatever, and you're like, okay, well, you know, and it makes sense.
Right.
And that's one of the biggest parts of it too, is how you handle yourself.
A thick skin.
Yeah. Yeah. And when somebody's being an a-hole, or, you know, when birds are tough, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, we all lived together for the better part of 4 months, and so, you know, I mean, tensions can get high, and you know, everyone has an opinion on how they think things should be done. You know, how you should set this up and how you should do that, and it's just about, you know, kind of navigating those situations and coming together as a team and figuring out what the best, you know, solution is to whatever problem it is, whether it's, you know, a setup for geese, or whether, you know, you're having a personal problem with your buddy or something like that. You know, it's about coming together as a team, and you know, it's such a cliche, and it gets overused, I think, but you know, it is a very, you know, family type atmosphere.
Right.
So family/frat house.
Yeah. Exactly.
The family frat house.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah. But yeah, so you know, just kind of adding on to what Gage said there, it's just being able to come together is pretty
Teamwork.
Yeah.
You know, like you said, you guys are a small crew, so if you can't work together, you can't make it work as a team. I would imagine stuff goes sideways pretty fast. But what about where you are? You know, location wise. Obviously, this part of Oklahoma especially is a good spot to be. It's a good spot to hunt. But say you're a kid living in Vermont and you want to get into this, how would you even begin? Do you just pick it up and go someplace where there's birds?
Move.
Move, or do it, you know.
Do what Harrison
We were
does.
talking about it yesterday, is like Harrison came as a client 2 years ago. And I remember.
This is Thrasher.
Yeah. Thrash dog. Yeah.
Thrash dog.
He came as a client, and I remember his first hunt, we were goose hunting, and he pulled his dog out. And we usually don't allow dogs. And it's just because, say if we've got 2 guys on the end you know, there's part of a separate group, but everybody's okay with hunting together. You know, that's if you have a client dog show up and it's its first time hunting and it's 8 years old, which we've had. You know, you got to be able to weed all that stuff out. And
right.
so you can't let another client. You've got to be the fault.
Okay.
You know, if you're not the fault, it's a client from another group. It's hard to handle. Even if it's a client out of the same group and one guy's doesn't really know him, but they both have a mutual friend that brought him here. You know, somebody's gonna get upset about something. So you don't usually do that. And Thrash brought his dog. Said he's a good dog. And, you know, we didn't really know much about the dog. And he said it was his first ever field hunt. So you know, here we go. Dog's first field hunt. It's 2 years old. Second season. So really first full season. And that dog, I mean, the first bird it picked up, it went 90 miles an hour, went right back in the blind, never broke, never, you know, no issues. And then he did a blind with it. It was probably 350-yard blind, and the dog did it better than any dog we've ever had come through here, probably. You know, it's just like, holy smokes. I remember offering him money for the dog in the blind.
Yeah.
I said, how old's that dog? He said 2 or 1.5. I said, is it spayed? And he said, yeah, it's spayed. I said, well, there's your first mistake. You spayed your dog. When it's that good of a dog, you know, and he didn't know it at the time what she'd turn into. But then I said, I'll give you, I think I offered him like 10 grand for it right there. I said, I'll give you $10,000 for that dog. And he said, no, I don't know. No, I'm good.
I just turned down 35 in Arkansas.
And then he turned down 35 in Arkansas a week later, or right after us, he swung through Arkansas, and somebody offered him $35.
Oh my gosh!
But Thrash showed up. He looked the part. He had a super awesome dog, which was a big bonus, but that wasn't a make or break line.
So we were talking about Thrash. We had to stop for a minute because of the cameras. We had to readjust because of the sun and different things. But Thrash shows up. You offered him $10K for his dog because it's awesome. Then a week later he goes to Arkansas and he's offered $35K for the dog.
Yep.
And he turns it down. And now he's here as
here.
a guide.
Yeah.
I asked, if you live in a state that doesn't have a lot of birds or a lot of opportunity, what do you got to do? And both of you were like, move, leave.
Yeah. Thrash was willing to sacrifice, 3 months of his life to come up here or come down here. He's from Maryland. So he comes over here for the whole season, November through beginning of February. And last year he ended up staying a little bit longer because of the snowstorm. But, he was at Shane's family Christmas. You got to be willing to sacrifice those things. And he, like I said, he came with the dog, and he was, if you were a client from another group, you would have thought he was a guide while I was here.
Really?
Yep. His dad was here, but he was freelancing on his way up here. And then, he looked the part. He carried himself well. He didn't talk over somebody. He didn't initiate his opinion on anything, even though I'm sure at some point he might have had one on how something might be done or set up or hide or dog work or etc. The list goes on, and he was just there, and then he asked good questions the whole time he was here. A lot of people don't have the extra funds to be a paying client somewhere to apply for a job nonchalantly, but he was lucky enough to be able to do that, and it turned out where he is now. It's just, and he didn't even come here to be a guide. He came here, just showed up, started setting spreads, helping. He went out with us 2 hours before everybody else did. His dad was sleeping in the hotel as he was setting up decoys, and it was just because he wanted to learn what we were doing and how we were hunting and everything like that. And and even at the time we weren't in this. Didn't have these facilities, and didn't even have this good of equipment. I think he saw the potential of where we will go, and we liked him as a person, and he liked us as a person. We became pretty good friends over the off season, and then just told him, dude, you should come back next year. And I think last year he came after Christmas. He was going to graduate college before moved down here to work full time. And so he came here for the whole month of January and half the month of February to do lake goose, just on a whim. I mean, he just up and left everybody, his girlfriend, all that. And I think that might have even affected his relationship.
Probably.
Between that and his fishing, but he's got a pretty good gig too with the fishing deal.
Yeah, he was telling me a little bit about that last night at supper. It sounds super interesting, the tournament stuff that they do, and then the charter stuff. And it's all blue water, offshore blue water type stuff. So that's really cool. But I think that obviously speaks volumes about who he is as a person. But I think that speaks too about there's opportunity available if you're willing to go get it.
Yeah.
And it's not just in the hunting, not just as a hunting guy. That's life. If you want something bad enough, you go get it. Go make it happen.
Yep.
Right.
And sounds to me like he just all of you guys was like, yeah, that's what I want to do. I'm gonna go do this. Right. And I love sitting down and chewing the fat with people about stuff like this. Because everybody's got a story. Everybody's got a unique perspective on this. And no two are the same. They might share similarities, but no two are the same. So we probably ought to wrap up pretty quick here because we got to go scout.
Yeah, we got to go find some birds.
We got to find birds for tomorrow, which is great. But give you a rundown of what we did this morning. My first crane hunt was an absolute circus. Horrible results. I don't ever want to do it again. Yeah. Please don't make me go out again and do that. But yeah, it's just like you said, no wind, blue-bird skies. They float in. Go, no, I don't think so.
Yeah.
And we killed some birds. We had awesome time.
We're finicky, man.
It was super cool.
Yeah, hunting cranes in January is one of those things where it's like, man,
We can try.
They're educated by now, by this point.
All right, and I love how you called the shot. Shoot at them.
Yep.
Not kill them.
Yeah.
Got them. Shoot them.
You always got to be vague with the shot call.
Shoot at them.
Let's try them, guys.
Something like that. Giver.
Yep.
That's the one we do in
Giver.
Canada. Giver is a slang term they use in Canada all the time. And so when we're hunting up there in Saskatchewan, it's always giver.
Giver, eh?
That's the shot call. Is giver.
That's funny. So you guided in Saskatchewan.
Yep.
Do you guide anywhere else but here?
Nope. Just the outfit. Okay, I'm gonna go up to Saskatchewan with these guys in September.
Cool. I know a lot of guys do that. They'll start their guiding season in September in Saskatchewan or Alberta. Go to October, and then by October they're usually coming back down here doing stuff in the lower 48, and then they'll run this program until end of January, first part of February, and then they'll go do geese someplace. And they're really like journeyman waterfowlers.
It's like living in the longest movie you've ever seen in your life.
Right.
That's what it's just
It's
like.
like living in the longest movie. I can imagine.
Yeah.
I can imagine.
This youth is September's a year and a half ago for me.
I bet.
It's the revenue.
Just dragging yourself through every single day.
Especially last year was kind of a break almost. I mean, it was a stellar season here, but we couldn't go to Saskatchewan because of
COVID.
And that was tough as a business, to be able to shut down and not be able to do that. I'm gonna have to fix that dog.
Quiet. Mine does the exact same thing. It's okay.
We weren't able to go up there, and that was, tough as a business on Shane and Cole, his partners up there's standpoint. But, it was also tough on me banking on that right after.
So there's an outfit Oklahoma, and there's an outfit
306, which is the area
Outfit
code
306.
word in Saskatchewan. Yeah,
Interesting.
that's a unit.
So if people are listening to this, see this video, watch this, whatever, you guys offer hunts either way. And when I have a chance to sit down with Shane, I'm gonna talk more about that but you guys, you've been there and done it. You're gonna go do it.
It's
I was gonna say, I bet it's epic.
yeah, you're shooting ducks with eggshells still on their head. It's fun, and on top of that, if you like wing shooting in general, that's the place to go. Just, you know, a lot of people think of Saskatchewan being too far, but it's really not. Just, and people think it just because you're going through a different country. Well, getting through border patrols, like, it's a breeze. You just, as long as you cross your T's and dot your I's, you can get through it in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And so that's what a lot of people, when they're thinking about going to Canada, they process that. You know, they think of the struggles. I might get turned around. You know, they want you to go through. They're not working against you. And you know, I've ran into my problems with Border Patrol. I've had my truck torn apart over it was, you know, just a little bag of meat that I had, and I got my truck torn apart, and they were ripping off door panels and all kinds of stuff, and that sucked. It made me not want to ever go through it again. But in the scheme of things, like, you know, they're trying to get people through there. This year we were the only people the Border Patrol saw in like 4 days.
Wow.
It was, I mean, they were happy to see us. And so they want you to go across, and it's no different than driving from Georgia to Oklahoma.
Right.
If you think of it that way, and if you're flying, it's even faster. I mean, and going up there and being able to experience the best wing shooting in North America is something that everybody should do that appreciates birds. I mean, cool. we do upland birds. We get to hunt Huns and sharp-tail, Hungarian partridge and sharp-tail, and this year Shane and I got to experience our first time shooting rough grouse up north in the bush. That was fun. We were 4 hours north of where our lodge is even at. So we were way up there shooting rough grouse. And we got to go on a moose hunt and experience somebody shooting a moose. That was pretty cool.
That's cool.
All the stuff you get to look forward to.
Right. So that's awesome. So tomorrow, what are your plans?
Probably end up scouting in the morning. Gonna go lock some geese down tonight for you guys to shoot at tomorrow morning. Then I'll be probably going an hour southwest of here looking at ducks.
Cool. Okay. Cool. And our plan is to fart around here and look for.
Yep. Yeah. I've got a love pond pinned down, a roost / love pond. It's holding quite a bit of birds, plus a bunch of birds coming from another roost to that one. They're staging in that and leaving with the rest of the birds.
Cool.
So we're gonna. Last night they were. Bad timing.
Thank you, sir.
So clay.
Watch it. What's that foot? Oh, sorry.
Nailed it.
You got it. Perfect. Nailed the dismount. I just wasn't sure if we saw it.
You got any more stuff, Clay?
Do what?
You got any more stuff out there you need?
Yeah.
Just move it.
All right.
We'll wrap it up. I need a couple more minutes. We'll wrap it up and we'll call it.
You want me to wait? Y'all want to get this shit done before I do that?
If you give us a couple minutes, could you?
No problem.
Thank you. Good? All right, so that's the game plan. Then we're going to go try to shoot geese tomorrow. I'm stoked, man. It's going to be fun.
Yeah. If the goose hunt doesn't work out, we'll you know where we're hunting tomorrow. If the geese aren't acting right, or if tonight's scout just isn't going to pan out what we want it to be, so you know, our second best bet's go up those cranes that we saw today in that field.
Yeah.
So we're going to hold off on that, and if
we might kill some more cranes in the end.
Yep.
That would be cool. It'd be fine with me. So cool. Well, guys, I appreciate it. I really do. I think sitting down with us and for having us here and for dropping some knowledge on the audience. And you know, I hope that if there's somebody out there that's thinking about this, thinking it's something that they want to do, that they can hear what you guys, your experiences and your, you know, dos pesos and go, I'm doing it.
Right.
Or I don't ever want to get my truck torn apart by customs. I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
But it'll be what it's going to be. So awesome. Well, thank you guys. This has been great. And let's go shoot some more birds tomorrow.
Let's go scout.